Hello everyone, both to my old viewers and people joining in to see some Marvel content. I've been wanting to do something about Marvel Champions LCG for a while, and now is finally the time, I think. Of course, if you're here for Lord of the Rings content, I assure you it's gonna happen soon again. That being said, we're starting out Marvel Champions with this quick little video. I will show you some of the best tricks of how to beat each and every single available villain in Marvel's Champions LCG, starting from the Corset villains. I will be assuming you're playing either Expert or Heroic 1, but if you're struggling with Standard, those tips can help you get through as well. Starting out with the tutorial enemy, Rhino. This guy is a punching bag, no matter how you put it and what you play. But if you're playing Heroic or some harder modular sets, even a punching bag can punch back. So he has 3 extra attacks, so there's a total of 6 when you combine it with Standard and Counter set. He heals some, he has some less than formidable minions at his disposal, and can buff his attack to sometimes ridiculous extent. He is also known for having the easiest scheme to complete, with just 7 threat per player to complete and win the game, although his scheme stat leaves a lot to be desired. So how can you make your life easier against him? First of all, always leave him damaged, and always get rid of his tough status. Just 1 damage pings will do wonders, allowing you to stop I'm tough and hard to keep down from surging, essentially doing nothing, and giving you an almost blank encounter card. Villain's life total doesn't really matter until the end game, so just allow him to keep healing himself for 1 while you work on other things. The second tip is to not let double charge stack when you have no way of acquiring tough status or cancelling the damage. Double charge with some solid boosts can destroy your day, and while it might be tempting to just stun him for the time being or avoid his attacks by going into alter ego, the longer you leave the charge around, the higher the chances it will come back to bite you double time. Just find out a way to tank it, if there is one. The third tip that I have for you against Rhino is to utilize the tools you have to cheese his attacks, those tools being stuns, ally blocking and cancellations. This might sound like it contradicts the previous point a little bit, but when big numbers and overkill is not on the horizon, you can just cheese his 4-point attacks with triple boosts with a single Maria heal. It works for most villains, but here especially, as the most common way to lose against Rhino is to die. There are a lot of tools to protect yourself right now, and if you use them, he loses his main weapon, which is burst damage. My fourth tip is to bring under surveillance and confuse. The more people are playing, the less relevant this is, but a few acceleration tokens and Rhino scheming a few times could mean a very random game over. So under surveillance and confuse allow you to basically nullify this possibility and focus on surviving the combat against him, which isn't all that challenging to do. You can either use Concussive Blow from Justice for Confuse, or you can just pick Doctor Strange or Natasha. Both have some tools to do so. And finally, you need to have a way to deal with 3, 4, 5 or 6 threat right off the bat. Not getting rid of breaking and taking at the start is pretty horrible, so it's good to have some tools to assure destroying it. Most good heroes have some tools to thwart in their toolbox, so don't be afraid to dump your whole hand in the search of it. Just a single player in the group with Justice will be enough, as even in 4 player a single basic hero action will finish the job. When you adhere to all those tricks, smacking the poor guy should just be a formality. And second up we have KLAW, the first real opponent in our way. He can get really nasty on Heroic, and he's no pushover on Expert. He has some cool tricks up his sleeve, so dealing with him can get a bit more complex than with Rhino. First of all, you should pack a lot of THWART, and right off the bat. This sounds so obvious and basic, but it's the #1 rule for dealing with him. He starts the game off with 2 pretty impactful side schemes and has a lot of mechanics making you go through and counter deck faster, meaning you will amass a ton of acceleration over the course of the game. And because KLAW will throw a lot of stuff at you at once, the game will probably go on for a while you're trying to regain control. A solid Justice deck in the team is a must in multiplayer and a very good option in solo. Second tip is very short but very relevant, don't stay low on health in hero form, even with blocking covered. If sound manipulation is still in the encounter deck, it's a very random way to die. Third tip is, because of KLAW getting 2 boost cards while attacking, cancelling those boosts has a lot more value as you can nullify the bigger chunk of attack more often. Black Widow and Preemptive Strike are 2 ways to cancel the boosts and reap benefits. Also, have pings available. Pings are basically 1 damage hits. You will want to ping KLAW so sound manipulation does not surge. He has 3 minions with TAF and his stage 3 also enters with TAF. Usually pings are really easy to come by, but if you're playing with heroes like Thor or Hulk, this could get annoying really fast without pings. And finally, take your time with KLAW. KLAW can keep pumping out minions and schemes, and you may be sitting 95% of the game not being able to seriously damage him, because you will need to take care of the rest of his stuff. He scales pretty well with the amounts of threat he can pump out, but if you can keep that in check, you will just outlast him and burst him in the late game. Don't jump to attacking him, try to aim at control of the scenario. You will just keep getting stronger and KLAW will stay mostly the same. Ultron is the hardest opponent in the core set and arguably the hardest heroic scenario up to date, but he's very specific, meaning that there are a lot of ways you can specialize against him. So first of all, this is obvious, but you need as many reliable ways to kill the drones as possible, including buffed drones. Retaliate is a great start, which means Black Panther and Captain America will be excellent. Black Panther even has his upgrade that makes dealing with them even easier, Energy Daggers. Squirrel Girl and Hawkeye from Leadership are also must-haves, and if you're playing multiplayer, an aggression player with Tigra and Hall of Heroes can be immensely useful. Remember that, according to current frequently asked questions, allies still trigger Hall of Heroes, so if the aggression player focuses on killing the drones, he will be able to get +3 cards every single or every other turn, making the grind against Ultron way easier. The second tip may sound familiar because under surveillance is again a very solid way to tackle this scenario. Because stage 1 has no ongoing negative effects, staying on it is preferable. With under surveillance you can actually get to never advance to stage 2, which will spam drones and threat at you. My third tip is that Ultron scales incredibly well, especially on Heroic. You may find yourselves overwhelmed by his board every turn. Assuming control should be your priority, but once you're set up, you might want to start actually hitting him, even when the board is not optimal for it, before he gets out of control. In Heroic, you will probably never fully clear his board, so just get rid of the most dangerous pieces on the board and focus on what is important. So main scheme, hitting his face and surviving. Also, Ultron is the very best villain to stun in the game. With boosts and his buff from drones, and also the fact that he generates them, he can hit for very high values very easily. And because minions will keep chipping at you anyway, you better keep him stunned, as it can save you most of your hit points. This again means that Captain America is a solid choice for this scenario, as well as any hero with stun in their toolbox. Finally, plan for the moment you advance from stage 2 to stage 3. It's usually the case for most villains, but in Ultron's case you will want to feel confident about this. To advance, you will ideally want a way to deal with 2 threat per person from Ultron's imperative. You will want to get rid of the new 2 HP drones, and you will be able to tank 2 attack drones that will come out. Hawkeye is the MVP of this stage, as he can just snipe 4 drones pretty comfortably if they are not buffed further. If you were struggling with some of those and you adhere to those tips, I'm pretty confident your win ratio is going to get a boost. If you liked the video, stay tuned for the part 2 about the expansion villains, and in the future I would want one for the Red Skull box as well. So stay safe, comment if you have some suggestions about the content, and I will see you guys in the next one.